So I want to quickly go through this sugya and what we do to really make sense of it. So to start with, here's the whole sugya as in just kind of one undifferentiated paragraph. Obviously, I gave it to you in a table, so I've already broken it down into phrases. But I want to see what are the key things that are going to tell us how to make sense of it. So the first thing is that there are three very clearly distinct segments. Okay, and the first two are pairs of statements. So even without getting into the content, this is really important. If you notice the parallels in language, Yadur Adam Be'eretz Yisrael, Al Yadur B'chutz La'aretz, not only parallels but converse, you see that those are that's a pair of statements. And then the she is going to go from the rule to mitnei she. This is because the explanation for the rule. And in the explanation too, we have a pair of statements with parallels. Kol hadar be'eretz Yisrael, kol hadar b'chutz la'aretz. And finally, shene'emar. Shene'emar, as it is written. That's introducing the pasuk. Here we have the actual source, so we're going to look it up. And the pasuk is going to support the claim made in the rest of the source. Okay, so far so good. So three parts. Now let's look at them one by one. First is an instruction, the second an explanation, and the third a source. Now, what you should do is that verb that's in the present or future tense. Yadur here is future tense. You should live or dwell, and that Adam is the subject. Don't you, again, the subject comes after the verb, it happens all the time. Yadur Adam, a person, and the instruction could be must, should, or may. Most of you concluded that in this context it makes most sense to say should. A Jew, presumably, should live in Eretz Yisrael. And then the other part, ve'al yadur, and shouldn't live, b'chutz la'aretz, outside of Eretz Yisrael. You should do this, you shouldn't do that. Obviously not must, given that we're talking about rabbis who are living in a world where most Jews did not live in Eretz Yisrael. But one should live in Eretz Yisrael. Now, why? Should one live in Israel? Wait, sorry, back up. Afilu, even be'ir sheruba ovdei kocharim, or nocharim. There are different words for that, but even in a city that ruba, rove majority, like harbe, a lot, rove majority. Even in a city whose majority is non-Jews and shouldn't live outside of Israel, even in a city whose majority is Jews. So you should do this, even essentially if it means living in a city where there are fewer Jews, rather than doing this, even if that would allow you to live in a city that's mostly Jews. So the first thing to see is living in a city that's mostly Jews is definitely better than living in a non-Jewish city, right? Because otherwise there wouldn't be a question. And so there is a value and importance in living in a city with a large Jewish community. Not surprising. What this text wants to tell us is that if you have to choose, living in Israel is more important. So we need to understand first, what are the benefits of living in a Jewish city and the challenges of living in a non-Jewish city? And then, what does this statement tell us about what's so important about living in Israel? So now we go on to the explanation. Why is living in Israel more important than living in a strongly Jewish city? Shekol hadar be'eretz Israel, that hadar, like ha'oseh, one who, the person who, any person who lives in Eretz Israel is one thing, and any person who lives outside of Eretz Israel is another. What are they? Anyone who lives in Eretz Israel is like domeh, really, is similar to, is like one sheyesh lo Eloha, who has a God. And the one who lives outside of Eretz Israel is like one who doesn't have a God. That is a strong statement. Okay, we have to think about what might we mean by that. What does it mean to say that only living in Israel are you like a person who has a God? And if you're living outside of Eretz Israel, where not only we, but many religious Jews live, they are like one who doesn't have a God. That is the question we need to talk about. And here, the verse we will get to in class, but I want you to just make sure that you had clear on the claim so that you can think about what idea or belief might be behind that claim. The rest we'll get to in class.